You're watching Market Fatafat on ET now with me, Vinny Motiwala, along with me, Shell D'Souza as well. Cheryl, not a good afternoon, at least coming in from the markets, right? Because we saw the fall coming in from the day's highest point and a sharp fall in the last half an hour.
Absolutely. If you look at the markets, Vinny, right now we've given up all of those gains. In fact, we are nudging negative territory. We did slip into the negative territory a few minutes ago when we talk about the benchmark indices. But the mid-cap index, that's the one that's actually erased all of its morning gains, almost 0.8% downtick coming in for mid-cap index from the morning highs. If you look at small-cap index, that one also has fallen off from the day's highest point, but nevertheless holding on to the positive territory. Look at what Nifty Bank is doing, because that's the one that's actually shining bright in today's trading session, because Nifty Bank was holding on to those gains of about 0.5%, or it's the Nifty IT that's seen a sharper fall from the day's highest point, 1.5% downtick coming in or in excess of 1% down coming in for Nifty IT index, and there you go, actually hovering around those flatline marks. So that is the way how the markets are looking at this point in time, definitely off the day's highest point, Vinny.
Absolutely off the day's highest point, and obviously when heavyweights like Reliance and TCS and all start falling, I think, did see the market fall with that. But on that note, let's get started with those individual movers and trade on the back of news flows and technicals. And on technicals, we're joined by Osho Krishan, while from the research team, we do have Nehi as well as Ankita joining in with us. A very good afternoon to all three of you all as well. Let me start with the first talk. We'll talk about Godrej Properties. This one is focus after it came out with its update, and we saw a sharp spike that in the stock once the update was announced. It was almost 7% up at one point of time, now holding on to gains of almost 4.4%. Now, Godrej Properties said they've seen a 135% year-on-year growth in terms of sales of over 5,000 homes with a total area of 8 million square feet, which is worth around 9,500 crores in the month of in the quarter ended March. The real estate developer also said that they've achieved a 161% of its booking value guidance for FY24, with growth of 31% for on a year-on-year basis. Overall sales mix is what they're seeing. The sales volume also grew in quarter 4, grew by 6%, driven by superlative consumer demand, as well as in terms of the new project that they've seen very good demand. So because of that, we've seen that Godrej Properties today is buzzing away in trade.
All right, not just Godrej Properties that is buzzing away in trade today. Take a look at what Premier Explosives is also doing in trade. Remember that this particular stock is actually hovering near its record high levels. 7.5% is what I last it had gained. Now it's gaining about 17% or so. The company actually makes solid propellants for rockets and explosives. They've said that they will be considering a stock split as well as raise of funds via issue of shares or other convertible instruments. So on back of the announcement coming in that they're going to mull for a stock split as well as raise funds, the stock has now hit a fresh record high levels. In fact, it's nudging us the 2,000 rupees per share mark.
Surely an interesting one to watch for a sharp run up in the stock. But Osho, your first stock that you're going to talk to us about is Bharat Forge. What are the charts indicating for this company? Over a long term or a short term, what is the target that one should keep for Bharat Forge now?
Very good afternoon, everyone. We'll talk about the technical perspective of Bharat Forge. Then Bharat Forge have seen a very steep correction from the zone of approximately 1320 towards the zone of 1060 in the recent period. But from there onwards, we are witnessing a symmetrical triangle pattern in this counter. So overall, we are expecting that from here onwards, there will be a gradual up move in Bharat Forge. It has been hovering above 200 SMA decisively from very longer duration. So I'm expecting that the time it surpasses the zone of 1170 on a decisive manner, from there onwards, there can be a strong uptrend that can be followed. While on the lower end, 1120, 1110 should be acting as a very strong support zone. For short-term perspective, 1170 should be seen as the immediate target. The time it surpasses the zone or sustain above 1170, then from there onwards, we can see a decisive move towards the zone of 1250, followed by 1300, 1320 in medium-term time frame.
All right, so that's the take coming in on Bharat Forge. Let's move on. Let's talk about Cupid. And why has this made it to your list?
Well, Cheryl, excellent quarter 4 as well as FY24 numbers coming in for Cupid. When you look at it from a quarter 4 perspective, from a standalone basis, revenue came in at 63 crore versus 42 crores, up almost 52% on a year-on-year basis. EBITDA is the one that's a real winner. EBITDA at 31 crores versus 11 crores, almost 3 times up, 192.5% up coming over there as well. Net profit has come in at 23.7 crore versus 8.3 crores. So that has also seen a very solid jump of 185% almost on a year-on-year basis. And margins have also very sharply expanded at 49.2% versus 27.5% on a year-on-year basis. Now remember, last week the company had announced a stock split in the ratio 1:10 and a bonus issue in the ratio 1:1, and the stock had surged last week as well. But when you look at it from a FY24 basis, then when you look at these numbers from an FY24 basis, revenue has done pretty well, up 7.4%, 7.5% uptick coming over there. EBITDA also 21% uptick. Net profit for FY24, when you compare it with FY23, is up almost 26%, and margins are also up at 29.3%, 26% in FY23. So well, yes, stellar numbers coming in Cupid, and on the back of that, the stock is locked in upper circuit. So good move coming in Cupid today.
Okay, that's Cupid for y'all. Let's move on to the stock that we should watch out for. And Bajaj Finserv, Osho, this one is making a lot of technical analysts. So what is the view that you have on Bajaj Finserv? You know, what are you seeing interesting in terms of charts over here? Last 1 month, seeing just a little bit of an up move that we're starting to see here. So what is the target that you're keeping?
Overall, there are very strong developments that can be seen on the daily time frame of Bajaj Finserv. Firstly, it has given a historical breakout around the zone of 1650. So 1650 has been very strong and resistance zone for this counter from past 1.5 year. But this time, looking at the overall trend formation on the daily chart, I am expecting that it has given a very strong breakout and is also sustaining above the same zone. So over there is a flat pattern on the daily time frame on which the targets comes around 1730 to 1740 in a short term period. And once it reaches the zone of 1730-40, then from there onwards even it will open the room for higher targets in this counter. So overall, this counter is looking very lucrative. 1650 is a very strong support zone now, and I'm expecting 1740 to be tested in a very short term period.
That's the take coming in on Bajaj Finserv. Let's shift focus not onto one stock, a slew of stocks that came out. Actually, that had a huge block deal take place today. Let's talk about Gland Pharma. Gland Pharma had a huge block deal in excess of about 5% taking place today. You have Axis Bank, we saw a block deal of about 1.1%, as well as Tata Tech that saw a block deal of about 0.8% equity. While for Gland Pharma as well as Axis Bank, we were aware of the fact that they would be having block deals take place today. In fact, sources have told by agencies that Bain Capital has managed to raise about $429 million via the Axis Bank stake sale, which took place at around 1,071 rupees per share. Gland Pharma as well, in overnight trading session, we got to know that a shareholder was going to offload in excess of about 4% stake in Gland Pharma. So that one also in focus. But Tata Tech, we're yet to get information about the buyers and the seller in this particular block deal. No doubt for buyers, all three of them, we will get to know only post-market. Definitely 3 stocks to watch out for in tomorrow's Fatafat as well.
Absolutely. Stocks to watch out for there as well. But let's move on, talk about Infosys then. And Infosys is in focus today on the back of a brokerage note. Ankita, what's the brokerage highlighting? Which brokerage firm has, hiked the target price for this?
Right, it is on the back of a brokerage note that's come out of BofA, and in fact it is seeing an uptick of 1.3% right now on the back of that brokerage note. Let's see what the brokerage note says. Well, it is BofA has upgraded the stock to buy from neutral. They've also hiked the target price to 1,785 rupees from 1,735 rupees. Now, they're making an early case for calendar year 25's demand recovery. Now, the normalization of the post-COVID spike in IT spends could be done with by the mid-year. Meeting the Basel III requirements is expected to drive up regulatory tech spends by banks. The SAP upgradation decline is becoming more of a priority for enterprises amid the 2027 support deadline. Also, the transformational IT spends could be a bit of an uptick coming in post the US elections. The upcoming earnings is likely to provide the last cut, and valuations look fairly reasonable for now for this case of the upgrade that BofA has on this particular counter, and we can see the stock move up on the back of this note.
All right, so that is that particular counter that is in focus in trade today. Ankita, let's talk about Infosys.
Ankita just did.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Sorry, Ankita. You just spoke about Infosys. Osho is coming to you actually about Infosys. How is this one looking at the chart? You know that a huge upgrade coming from BofA for that particular counter. The stock is actually moving in trade. No, most of the IT sector is now taking on the chin. What's your take coming in for Infosys? particular?
See, for Infosys, we are witnessing a very strong reversal kind of a pattern on technical developments, because the time it has seen correction from the zone of approximately 1730 towards 1470 odd levels. After that, the technical developments have seen a entering into a oversold territory. So from here onwards, there has been a positive crossover after the news, and it is also placed at the 200-day SMA. So from here onwards, there can be a strong reversal in the coming period that can be seen in Infosys. Immediately 1545 is the first target, which is also the bearish gap on the daily time frame. The time it surpasses the zone of 1545, then from there onwards we can witness a strong rally in this counter for the upside target of 1650 to 1600.
Okay, keeping an eye on the target levels for Infosys. Let's move on to an ET Now exclusive, where Housing Ministry has drawn its first 100-day agenda for the new government and looking to kickstart stall projects and launching new home loan schemes for urban poor. For more on this, let's go across to Prakash, who's joining in with us with more details on that. Prakash?
Yes, we are expecting some big development under the new government as far as housing sector is concerned. As we are learning from our sources that the Housing Ministry has prepared its list of priority for the initial days of the new government. Sources are informing that the implementation of Amitabh Kant Committee report on stalled housing projects is likely to be on top of the agenda of the new government. We are given to understand that these recommendations are going to be very crucial in order to resolve stalled projects in the housing sector. Therefore, Housing Ministry has set a target in consultation with the Finance Ministry. However, some provisions are being implemented by some of the state government, but that is not enough to resolve it without implementing full report in a holistic manner. Therefore, Housing Ministry has set a target. If you look at these recommendations, Amitabh Kant Committee has made several recommendations that include classifying stalled housing projects under priority financing. Along with that, policy related to minimum internal rate of return is one of them, including providing some one-time relaxation to the home buyers who are stuck in those stalled housing projects. Moving ahead, we are also given to understand that the implementation of a new home loan scheme for urban poor is likely to be on top of the agenda of the new government as well, as the scheme has already been announced by the Finance Minister in the interim budget. Therefore, Housing Ministry has set a target to implement this scheme in first initial days of the new government. As you are aware, and we have already been informed by our sources that as per the initial proposal, overall size of the scheme is likely to be around 60,000 crore, and home buyers would get benefit of interest subvention in a range of 3 to 6%.
All right, thank you so much for that, Prakash, for getting us those exclusive details. Definitely plans underway in full steam for the new government. But on that note, we slip into a break on this edition of Market Fatafat. When we come back, we'll talk stocks again. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, and you're watching Market Fatafat on ET Now. Let's keep it going with stocks that have been buzzing in trade, and the next one is Transformers Rectifiers. This one is on the back of its numbers that have come out on for the March quarter. Overall, when looking at the revenue growth of the company, that's seen a growth of 17% versus last year. Profits have seen a 4x growth versus last year, and overall the revenue stood at around 512 crores. Operating margin, that's a bit of a decline, 7% versus 14%. But what was interesting is in terms of the commentary that came in from the management. Very strong, very positive commentary. They're saying they expect to achieve 25% growth in terms of export revenue target by FY26. They expect the new capacity to have of around 12,000 NBA to be operational by December 2024. It's going to be on the renewables and green energy front. So positive commentary, good set of numbers, keeping the stock abuzz, and no doubt it's locked in upper circuit.
Absolutely. In fact, yesterday, Vinny, just before the markets could shut shop for trade, they came out with their numbers, and that time only you saw the stock actually spike up in trade because of the profit number. But Osho, let's talk about Grasim, and this one definitely started spiking up given the fact that it is going to give a tough competition to the paint industry as well, apart from the industry that is already presented. But talking about charts then, 11% in the last 3 months, bulk of the move in the last 2 months itself, given the fact of the announcement and the formal launch coming in of Birla Opus. But what's your take coming in on the charts? Where is it headed now?
See, technically this counter is very positive. It is hovering in a cycle of higher highs, maintaining the cycle of higher highs, higher lows on all time frame. But looking at the recent development in the last 3 months, it is consolidated in a zone of nearly 2000 to 2200 and again has started surging on the higher end. So I'm expecting on a very short-term perspective, 2400 should be seen as the first target in this counter. But overall, looking at the sentiments and the technical setup in this counter, I am expecting even a higher target for approximately 2600 from medium-term perspective. So overall, view remains bullish, but one should try to utilize dips near about 2150 to 2100 on the lower end, and 2400 should be acting as the first target, followed by 2600 from short to medium time frame.
So that is the take coming in on Grasim. Snehi, let me come to you. Let's talk about Alpha Medicare. And yes, QIP is the news, is it?
Absolutely, Cheryl. Spot on. QIP is the news. Now, this stock has surged to a 52-week high today and is continuing to rise for the third trading session in a row after the company launched a qualified institutional placement, QIP, like you mentioned, of shares at a floor price of 477.33 rupees a piece. However, the floor price implies a discount of 5.5% to the market price. Now, the exchange filing says that the pharma firm can offer the issue at a discount of not more than 5% of the floor price. The company's board is also scheduled to meet on 12th of April to consider the issue price for the QIP. So we'll have more details then. But in the meanwhile, the stock is holding up pretty well for itself on the back of this QIP news, up 2.5% as we speak.
Oh, just a minute. The next stock, and Osho Tata Chemicals is the stock that you have picked up for us. This has been an underperformer when you look at it among the other Tata Group companies. So what's the view for Tata Chemicals?
See, basically Tata Chemicals has been a very strong movement in the last 2-3 weeks, in the last 2-3 weeks, from the zone of nearly 960, 970 towards the zone of 1350 odd levels. But from there onwards, it has been into a gradual cool off correction that can be seen. But again, now the counter has consolidated a little bit in the last 2 to 3 weeks, and again looks positive that from here onwards it can again see a very strong rally on the higher end. So I'm expecting on the higher end approximately 1180 to 1200 should be acting as the first target. The time it surpasses the zone of 1200, then from there onwards again it will be continuing the upward trend towards the zone of 1260 to 1280 from short to medium term time frame.
All right, let's move on. Then let's talk about Dixon Tech, and that particular counter is in focus in today's trading session. They have entered into a share purchase agreement for proposed acquisition majority stake constituting about 50.1%, and further acquisition in tranches in ISMAR 2. This is as per the exchange filing. However, the transaction is subject to the CCI approval. The deal over here is the fact that we're yet to get details when you talk about the amount that they're going to pay for this particular acquisition and what's going to entail on that particular one. Therefore, you've seen the stock actually see a sharp rise when it actually opened up for trade, but from there on is only fizzled off. Now we are seeing in fact a decline about 2% on back of that.
Absolutely, surely we are keeping an eye out on that. But let's move on and talk about the technicals and Gujarat Gas. And Osho, when you're looking at Gujarat Gas, last 6 months a decent performance, 31% uptick is what we've seen. What's the view now for Gujarat Gas? Because in the last couple of trading sessions, at least today, we are seeing a bit of a subduedness. So any indication on charts that one should watch out for?
Gujarat Gas seen, as you have mentioned, have already seen a very strong movement in the last 6 months. So after that it has been into a consolidation zone. But looking at recent development in last 2 to 3 trading weeks, it has consolidated near the zone of 540, and in the last trading session it has also witnessed a consolidation breakout. Today, no doubt there has been some kind of action that can be seen, but overall on technical front, it is on the verge of sloping trendline breakout, which comes around the zone of 558. So from here onwards, if it will sustain above the zone of 560, 565, then I can imagine it to move towards the zone of 590 to 600 in a short-term time frame. Overall, it is looking positive. On the lower end, 540 to 530 is a very strong support zone or a demand zone for this counter. On the higher end, I am expecting the short-term target to be 600.
let's move on and let's talk about a star performer of the stock of the day that was yesterday. That is Exide Industries for you, Ankita. And how is the stock today? Because at one point in time, we did see a jump of 6%.
Cheryl, spot on. In fact, this was the star stock of yesterday. In fact, it surged 12% yesterday, of course, on the back of its deal with Hyundai and Kia Motors for EV batteries. In fact, the stock is at its all-time highs and it's up 20% in the last 5 days. And today also, it like you mentioned, jumped up 6%, but has cooled off from its gains. It is on the back of two notes that have come in. Side. One is by JP Morgan, and they're saying that they're maintaining an overweight with a hike the target price also to 480 rupees per share from 330 rupees. Now they feel that they're raising the target by 45% to 480 rupees, and this is just as they are calling it, excitement has already begun for Exide, and they feel that they're expecting an increased capacity utilization from 70% to 87.5% after increased confidence from Hyundai and tie-up. It suggests further order wins could be on the anvil as the company continues to be in discussions with several OEMs, and Exide's core business growth potential is likely to be underappreciated. Also, Kotak Securities came in, but Kotak is maintaining a sell. Remember, they've hiked the target price to 270 rupees from 250 rupees, and they feel that the sell stays on the back of expensive valuations for Exide. So that's the note coming in for Exide.
Okay, that's on Exide, continuing to see an up move in the last couple of even Amara Raja Batteries, that's following suit with Exide. But let's move on, talk about Omax, and why is this one in focus, Snehi? What's the reason for this seeing an up move?
Well, yes, the stock is seeing an up move of almost 4%, and on the back of some action coming in for one of its arms or one of its subsidiaries. World Street Sports Centre Limited, which is a wholly owned subsidiary and special purpose company of Omax Limited, will develop an integrated multi-sports facility for roughly 1,500 crore rupees. This is what the company said in an exchange filing. Now, the facility will include an indoor stadium, an international cricket stadium, a retail and hospitality hub as well, and an area dedicated to cricket and football on 54 acres in Delhi's Dwarka area. Now, the facilities are being built under a public-private partnership model with the Delhi Development Authority, which is the DDA, and the cost of construction will be funded through internal accruals, and the company is expecting a revenue of around 2,500 crore through the sale of the units. So on the back of this news flow that the company is going to go ahead and develop this very holistic sports center, the stock is up 4% as we speak.
All right, let's move on then. Osho, let's talk about Tata Elxsi, and how is this one on the charts for looking to you? Because yes, no doubt this one did manage to hit that coveted 10,000 rupees per share mark, but that was almost a year or two ago. Now it's hovering around the 7,000 odd mark. Where do you see it headed from here on? Do you see now that it will break out of the chain and only move higher?
See, on technical perspective, this counter has seen, as I mentioned, has seen a very steep correction from the zone of 9,200 towards the zone of 74, 7,300 in the recent period. But again, in the last month, it has consolidated near the 200-day SMA on the daily time frame. And the last week, it has also witnessed a consolidation breakout. So, on the technical time frame, it is hovering just above all its significant moving average. That gives a very initial sign of reversal in Tata Elxsi, and I am expecting that from here onwards there can be a strong move in the coming period. Firstly, the first resistance for Tata Elxsi is near about 8,000 to 8,050 odd levels. The time it surpasses and sustains above this zone, then from here onwards we can expect 8,400 in a very short-term perspective, and the time it surpasses 8,400, then again it will be moving higher towards the zone of 9,000 in short-term move only. I'm expecting a very decent move in Tata Elxsi in the coming periods.
Okay, that was stock number 16, Tata Elxsi. Keep an eye on those levels over there. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more stocks after the break.